Good morning, everyone. Adele from Your Healing Path and Soul Purpose Awakening. It is just clicking over 5 o'clock here in Sydney, 5 a.m. And I know I have a busy day ahead, so not as early as my other ones, but still, most people are still in La La Land. Today's topic is part 2 of the 4-part series that I said I would bring to you guys. And throughout this series, I want you to sort of be aware that this is a process overall for your healing, for identifying your purpose, for sort of getting closer to your own personal authenticity as well. So today's topic is focus. Now, it's not, as I was putting together the words for this one, you kind of hear focus and you go, yeah, focus. That's not exactly what I'm talking about today. What I'm talking about is the second part of the process. So the first part was around clarity, and that's very much about defining what your situation is, what your emotions are, what you're aiming for, and to do that without emotional baggage. Okay, so to do that without triggers getting in the way, without being, I guess the reality of it is, without being misled by your past experiences. So to be able to look at situations with honest clarity for what they are, not what your emotion or your memory tells you it is. Now, that in itself is quite a feat. If you manage to do that, fabulous. That is awesome, because it isn't the easiest thing in the world to do. We are, of course, whether we like it or not, we are guided by our past experiences when we're looking at our own lives and what a particular situation might mean. When we're looking at focus, once those definitions have come through, it's very much, the focus aspect of it is very much about becoming aware of a lot of things, but primarily becoming aware of what you're aiming for and what in your life does not resonate with that. So you start becoming more in tune with things, and your body will tell you, this is the fabulous thing, you start becoming much more in tune with what feels right for what you're aiming for and what doesn't feel right. And that's what I'm talking about with focus. So if you have a reaction, an emotional reaction to something, the focus is, what is this telling me? What has caused it? What has triggered me to have this emotional response? And then you start to kind of decide whether or not it's an issue you need to address, whether it's something that you're dealing with from your past, whether it's something that's, putting doubt in you for whatever it is that you're trying to achieve. The other part of the focus aspect, and this is quite difficult, is to start focusing, realizing, acknowledging, and seeing what the people around you are like. What are you surrounding yourself with? It is very difficult to climb a mountain if you've got 25 people strapped to your back trying to keep you down. And the way that people try and keep you down is by undermining your own belief systems. And that can be quite challenging to start with, because quite often you aren't really set on what your new lifestyle is, what your new belief systems are, how you're tweaking things. So someone throws the smallest amount of doubt and you begin to doubt yourself. I'm not talking about positive and negative people. I'm not talking about that, because it's a misnomer to sort of make it as black and white blanket as that. People have intentions, just like you do, obviously. Some people have wonderful intentions for you, but how that comes across is trying to protect you from the nasties of life. So they will try and discourage you from something that they believe may not be good for you. Then you have the people who do have a sense of either jealousy or being left behind, and will try and sort of claw you back. So it is important when you're going through the focus aspect of your own healing, your own, getting to your own authenticity and trying to find your purpose. It is very much about focusing on what you are surrounding yourself with. Now, that also includes your physical environment, not just your spiritual and emotional environment. So quite often, look, I know I don't do it so much these days because I know why it is I'm doing it. So I kind of bypass that part of the process. But very often what you will find is it helps to actually get your physical environment set in a way that complements what you're trying to achieve. So if you're trying to achieve a clarity of thinking, that's not going to help if you've got stacks of books all over the place and, overflowing rubbish bins and you open a cupboard and things fall out of it. I do believe that it really is a big payoff if you can address those things that might be distracting your focus, because they actually work. This is one of my favorite things. They actually work almost like a defrag program for your mind. Now, back in the old day, I don't even know if it still happens. Back in the old days with a computer, you would run what was called a defrag process. So the computer would go through a process and fill in the gaps of pockets of information that had been deleted, but those empty air pockets were still there. So what a defrag process would do would be to remove all of that, condense down the existing information, and allow a great deal more room for RAM, I think is the term. Basically, it would speed your computer up because it's not searching through a bunch of dead files to try and do what you're asking it to do. And that is a perfect parallel to looking at your environment and what you're allowing in and seeing whether or not it's dead space, whether or not you need to do something about it, whether or not you need to get your hands on it, your head around it, whatever the case may be. So when we're talking about focus, it is an overall focus on, and probably another word that could be used is an awareness, and to start becoming in tune with what sets your heart beating faster in a good way and what sets it off in a bad way. And you'll know the difference. I don't generally like using the words good and bad, but it's, if you get excited about something, your body generally has the same reaction than if you are scared of something. The physiological reactions are incredibly similar. So being able to ascertain what's what when you're having a reaction, particularly with something like that, is it's invaluable, actually. So I hope that shed a little bit of light on the focus part of the process. When you're looking at clarity, you're looking at being radically honest about your situation, your emotions, your reactions, your current life, and what you're aiming for. When you're looking at focus, it is about clearing the clutter, identifying what the clutter is and doing something to clear it. So it's not a dead set focus on what you're aiming for so much, but it is about doing some housekeeping around your emotional, physical, spiritual state. And physical includes what you're putting into your body, as in food, drink, whatever the case may be. If you've watched, thank you. And let me know that you've seen it. I'll be back in on Thursday to talk about part 3 of this 4-part series, and that is understanding, and that will be a little bit different because we'll be talking about the cognitive understanding process. I hope you can join me then. Have a fabulous day. Well, sending you all enormous amounts of love. Bye.